A lot of Americans have really become a lot better off. If you look at the cars that people drive these days, if you look at how many TVs, computers everybody has, who had that all 20 years ago?
He's right. Experts say Americans are already living the dream, even if it doesn't always feel that way.
These days, with the cost of housing and energy and food and sending your kids to college, middle income seems almost like it's poverty now.
Since we launched Money Track a few years ago, we met a lot of typical Americans and discovered they are not only better off than their parents and grandparents, they're richer than most people on Earth.
The average Chinese man or woman earns 1/20th that the income of an average American. They manage to save between 30 and 40% of their income. With our fantastic incomes, we save on average a negative amount.
So, if Americans make so much money, why is it so hard to get ahead? Because economists say it's not your imagination. There really is a serious squeeze on the middle class. Here are the stats. The average American's income is shrinking. The number of middle-income households is falling. And almost 40% have had their overtime, raises, and bonuses cut. So if there's such a crunch on finances, you'd think Americans would tighten their belts, but that doesn't seem to be the case. Most of us own a home, drive 2 cars, and still manage to take vacations.
Clearly in America, we have a sense of entitlement. That is really one of the things that plagues people in their finances. They are entitled to a certain way of life, even if they don't have the money to spend it.
So let's be clear on this. Middle America is spending more, but saving a lot less. Credit card debt is at an all-time high, and about 2 out of every 3 Americans say they're living paycheck to paycheck.
We're going to the right, aren't we?
We met Rhonda and Ken Daniels this season on Money Track, and one of their biggest concerns is how they'll send 3 kids to college on a middle-class income. A bachelor's degree from a public in-state school will run the Daniels almost $50,000 each. Oh, the dream may be alive, but the gap between rich and poor is getting wider. See, the top 10% are making more money than ever, while the other 90%, the vast majority of us, are not making any more.
A democracy cannot long endure if the gap in wages and wealth between the have-mores and the have-lesses continues to widen.
Meanwhile, though, middle-class America can't seem to own enough big cars, cell phones, and big TVs. Former U.S. Labor Secretary Robert Reich tells us it's all about how middle-income people like Ralph Hatley perceive their standard of living.
It's how people feel relative to how they expect to live. In other words, in the United States today, people who can't afford to have a car, can't afford a television set, really feel deprived. 100 years ago, if you didn't have a car and a television set, well, you didn't even know televisions existed.
So is the American dream alive and kicking? The consensus is yes. What the experts are saying is living the good life doesn't mean having everything. It does mean having everything that's important.
You don't have to live the life of Lindsay Lohan. You don't have to live the life of Donald Trump. You have to support your family. You have to support yourself. And there's so much in life that costs nothing to enjoy.